You're listening to the Illuminate Podcast. I'm your host, Joel Kors, and I'm passionate about encouraging and inspiring others to shine their light for Jesus. Let's explore together the stories of how others are following their purpose and shining their light. Let's get started. You're illuminating me. Hey friends, welcome to the Illuminate Podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and today I'm here with Marcus and Jalyn McGill from Dickinson, North Dakota in the USA. Marcus and Jalyn have been releasing music together since 2020, in addition to leading worship and being pastors at their local church. I've been following Marcus and Jalyn's journey for a couple of years now, since myself and Jalyn first met at a song co-writing session that we did with a mutual friend a few years back. So, hey Marcus and Jalyn, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Hey Joel.
Thank you so much for having us.
Brilliant. So I'm really excited to hear you guys share some of what it means for you to be shining your light for God. So let's just dive in at the beginning, shall we? It's obvious that music and worship has been a real passion for you both. Can you describe what your earliest memories of music were? Jalyn, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so I know that I was singing constantly since I was a little kid. I started singing specials in church. I know there's a picture of me holding my mom's hand where I'm just like tiny kid up there singing in church. And even from just like a super young age, I was just like making up songs, and I would record them on a little like tape player recorder. Yeah. So I was just kind of constantly into music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Marcus? What are your kind of first memories?
Yeah, I think just growing up in my local church and singing worship songs, and then I wanted to learn drums. That was like the first instrument I ever wanted to learn.
That's the
I thought
best
they were
instrument.
So cool. Yeah, it is. They're so fun. But my parents I think they just wanted a quieter instrument to let me learn something on. Yeah. And so my brothers and them chipped in all together to get me my guitar, and that's what I started learning on, and I got involved in the worship team, and I started a little band with another kid in my church, and we would stay behind that church and do stuff on there. So yeah.
And then I guess over the years for you guys, at what point did you kind of feel led to start writing music? Was that something that developed individually for you guys, or was that more when you got together?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote pretty consistently starting in high school. Like, I was very interested in songwriting. Some of my songs we did with our youth worship team, so I really liked to write like worship songs. And then I think it was maybe like after we were engaged, we started writing together, and one of the first songs that we wrote together was, I think it was the very first song actually, was Firefall. And that was, a song that we ended up years later kind of editing and rewriting and then actually recording and putting out.
Wow, awesome. And for you, Marcus, I feel like you're more plugged into the kind of production side of things. Is that right?
Yeah,
or
it's true, yeah. I mean, I first started with like songwriting. My influences way back in the day when I was a kid was Reliant K. I was like super punk rock, gung-ho kind of kid. And then after a while, I went to music production, I just kind of dabbled in both back and forth. And eventually, I don't know, my heart more led me to the music production side of things, which I still do both, but it's just I more so do music production. And
that's cool. It's just every time I see like Instagram stuff, it's like normally you sat at a laptop sort of at the computer doing the production side of things. So that's quite interesting. And so I guess then at some point you guys met. Did you how did you guys meet, incidentally?
Well, I was living in Minnesota in the Twin Cities area, and I had the opportunity to move out to North Dakota during the oil booming side of things when that was going on. And once I moved out here, I got involved at the local church where I met Jalyn. She was leading worship, and then I got involved in the worship team there, long story short. And and then
Yeah, I remember now, like, one of the first times that we hung out together was actually Marcus was going to help produce a song that I wrote.
Yeah,
and so it was kind of a way for him to get me to hang out with him and try to, like, see if maybe I was interested or not. So
the early days, yeah.
That sounds like a bit of a plan going on there. A little bit. It worked. Amazing. And so then obviously, once you were together, you've then started working on projects together. And then you released your debut album, didn't you, in 2022? So was that something that just developed organically once you got together, or you just, because really it feels like an extension of what you were doing separately, but now as a couple. Is that right?
Yeah. I think you have a good idea on that.
Yeah, it was kind of more towards the end of, I was done with college, and we had a pile of songs that we had written together, and I think it was just really in Marcus's heart that we like go the professional route and like really try to make an album as like good as we could do it. And he ended up reaching out to a great producer, and we kind of got started along the journey of recording. And this was my first time doing anything with recording, so it was really fun and exciting, and just kind of started off that journey in 2017.
Yeah, wow. So like 5 years from there, and then to release your debut album.
Yes.
That's really cool. So how do you find working on songs together as a couple? I mean, what do you love about that? Is there good stuff about that?
Yeah. I like when we're writing together, I just kind of like to see what God's been speaking into her life, and then how I can incorporate how God's been speaking into my life, and just like getting those melded together and just seeing what God does with it. And I mean, that goes with any kind of co-write that you do with anyone.
Yeah.
Just feeling inspired by the other person is always like a really cool aspect for me, just because I didn't think of that, and I wonder what this would be like to talk about this side of things. And
I think one of the challenges is I'm a very like verbal processor, and so in a write, like I tend to just keep talking, because it's like, well, maybe like I don't think that everything I'm saying is good, but if I just keep talking, like maybe we can get some ideas out there. And I need to remember that like giving silence for Marcus is very important to his writing, so that he can actually think without me continually talking. And then he'll kind of come back with a really good idea, but I need to be quiet sometimes.
Yeah, I like silence when I'm trying to think about stuff. Helps.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Sometimes you just need processing time.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was obviously those 5 years, but until you released your debut album in 2022. What was it that was holding you back at that moment? Was that just technical issues, or were there other aspects that were kind of holding you back from just launching into it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very long story in that, but every kind of delay imaginable happened. It was just kind of a wild ride, and most of it was, out of our control. We kind of already done our part, and we're just waiting on the rest to happen.
Sure.
But I think that the delay became one of the biggest things that God ended up using to grow both of us.
It was a blessing in disguise, for sure.
It really was.
Wow.
And as a result of it, Marcus started to zero in on production and like really focus on that, and he got a great opportunity to do an internship for music production, and I just really pressed into writing, which it was super discouraging in the middle years, because it's why am I continuing to write if everything that I've already written still hasn't come out and still isn't released? But wrote so much good stuff during that time. And then it was kind of at the end of that season that I started co-writing too, which became the biggest blessing in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can, well, as we co-wrote together, I kind of like share that sort of, it's a real energizing sort of experience, isn't it, when you co-write together? And what a blessing for you guys to be able to do that as a couple as well, to just kind of share that experience of being able to like write songs together and bounce those ideas off each other and that kind of thing. That is a blessing for sure. So yeah, I mean, were there any other? I mean, maybe you've kind of like touched on this a bit already, but have there been any other like hurdles that have stood in your way as you were kind of beginning to write and release those songs?
I could speak on that a little bit.
Sure.
I think for every artist, almost every artist, finances are a huge part of it starting out, because getting a trustworthy, good producer costs a lot of money. Like, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at the beginning too, you don't really like know anyone. When we went to our producer and he was giving us all this advice, his main advice was networking. And that was something that he did in his early days, was just putting yourself out there as best you can and talking to people and here and there. And that was just what changed everything for us. Like finding people to co-write with. I think you hear the saying, it's better together. Like that is so like true when it comes to like music, making music, whether it's production, whether it's writing. I feel like we all sharpen each other. And I learned so much in my music production part just by putting myself out there and talking to people in my internship, and then hearing from word of mouth, just like, oh, this other guy does mixing, and okay, I'll reach out to him and I'll talk to him, and learning from this other new guy. It's just kind of like snowballs, and you just kind of get to know more and more people, and it helps a lot to network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I can really see that through the songs and things that you're been releasing. You're really like shining your light for God in that. What advice would you give to our friends listening that if they're feeling unsure about how are they meant to shine their light?
Yeah, I mean, I would say really take a look at what you're passionate about. You know, what are the things that God has put inside of you that make you excited to get up?
Sure.
Like, what are those things that you have a fire for? Because I think that people really take notice when someone is following their dreams. And again, it's not about, you know, following this, oh, like I have this selfish dream out of myself, but especially when people are following big dreams that God gives them, I think that that's incredibly inspiring. And I think that it grabs the attention of others and they notice, you know, something different about you. So I think that it's, you know, it's definitely one way that you can shine your light to others by just being who God made you to be and by pursuing the things that He's put in your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you said one thing at the beginning of that, which was like the fire that you've got inside. And I think that's such great advice to think of it like that, you know, the fire that burns inside. Yeah, that is great. Do you have any advice for other couples who are thinking about writing and releasing music together? I mean, you've obviously been on the journey quite some time together. So what's your best piece of advice?
Yeah, I would give some advice, just that like hone in on each other's strengths, because neither of you are going to be 100% on one thing or the other. Like, one person's going to be better at this area, one person's going to be better at this area. Yeah. And figure out what that is, and don't be offended when they're better than you. And just like, I don't know, I just really think that we all have strengths that we can hone in on, and don't forget that God put something in us individually, and just figuring out how to work together the best way to sharpen each other, because it doesn't have to look the same for either one.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that and just say that, you know, you both don't have to be the vocalists. You both don't have to be the writers. You both don't have to be in the production side. Like, just knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses. And for us, it's been such a blessing for, you know, myself to just really focus on the writing and really like work on that. And for Marcus to just really focus on production, because, you know, I feel like either of us could put more effort into the other thing, but just really focusing on kind of one thing has helped both of us just like be stronger together as an artist.
And I think like thinking about what comes more naturally to the individual in that season too. It's not like I'm going to choose production or writing and I'm just going to stay there, you know, but like I just know it comes more naturally to her to be able to write, to speak into things. And for me, I'm more of like I'm patient at like trying to get this music put together, and whereas she struggles in that area.
Oh my goodness.
And and it's just like honing into those strengths that we both have, you know, and just accepting like, okay, well, she's better right there, I'm better right here right now, and you know, we'll continue to develop those areas.
Yeah, that's awesome. As you were speaking about that, I was just reminded of that scripture, you know, the one body, many parts. And it just felt like, you know, it was a little bit I know that's mainly about the church, but it just reminded me of that scripture in terms of, we all have different functions as part of the body.
Yes.
And it's great to have that, complementary skills as a couple, that you're performing different functions of a whole, if you like. I think that's really cool that it's sort of like complementary in that respect.
Yeah.
And what would you say to anyone listening that's got a bit stuck in terms of maybe like self-doubt or fear, or they're just struggling to move forward in what they feel God's calling them to?
I would say try again. Don't be afraid to fail, because you're going to fail over and over. I mean, I've been through things I would count as countless failures in music just over my years of doing it. It takes failure to become good, and it takes a lot of that.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
I think I would add to really hone in on your why. Really just going before the Lord and getting your direction from him is so important.
Yeah.
Because on those days that you don't want to keep going and you don't want to put the effort in anymore, if you know deep inside of you that no, this is what God is calling me to for this season, this is what he wants me to do, I'm taking that next step, that next thing that he's put in my heart, I think that can really carry you through a lot of times. Because, I think just one specific example is that release day can be a really hard day. I don't know if you feel this too as an artist, but release day can be a really heavy day because you're kind of just, you've put so much time and effort into this song or this project. And then once it's out there, you're just kind of sitting back and seeing is it going to be accepted? Is it going to connect with people? Are people going to feel about it the same way that you feel about it? And so I think especially on those days, I often try to take some intentional time with the Lord and just allow him to, just continue to speak over me, what he's called us to do, what it is that he wants for us. And I think that it becomes so much less about the numbers, about the apparent success or the acceptance of others. And it just becomes more of this is an act of obedience, and not to over spiritualize it and be this is, us being so holy and releasing this music. But I think way beyond that, when God's calling you to do something that's kind of scary and kind of, you wear your heart on your sleeve and you put it out there, I think that God really honors that when you do walk in that obedience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would also speak on that self-doubt part too, just that I feel like we can get caught up in that because there's people out there that are better or we view as better. And I don't think it's about who's better, it's about the consistency, because people that are really good can sometimes quit too, and they just stop on whatever it is they're doing. But the people that are consistent, they can get to that level, and you just keep going. You don't stop. If you feel like God put it in your heart, you don't stop. You just keep going, and that's, I don't know, that would be my main advice for anyone who's feeling discouraged and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that links back to the why that Jalyn you mentioned as well. It's just we sometimes you can almost get caught up in just doing the same thing and going round and round, and sometimes you're too busy to actually stop and go, so Lord, why am I doing this again? Yep. So I think that's a real key thing, isn't it? To just remember why we are, doing what God called us to do, and be really sure of that, and that's what God's laid on our hearts, and that's what God wants us to do. A funny little thing popped into my mind when you were talking about release day. I suddenly pictured in my mind the ski jumpers. They're going down, and they get to the end of the ski jump, and there's this moment where they're and they're caught in midair, not really quite sure what's happening. And then obviously at some point they land and think, oh, I made it. But there's this kind of it's released. And there's this kind of moment of, is anything happening?
That's really funny.
I don't know if you feel that as well, but it just popped into my mind quite randomly. I also loved what you mentioned earlier about not being afraid to fail, Marcus, because I think I actually saw, I think it was an Instagram clip of a very famous musician recently talking about, that was his piece of advice, don't be afraid to fail. He's I fail all the time, and he's someone that everyone would know the name of. I won't mention it on here, but
Sure.
He was just saying that's my one piece of advice as well. So I think that's a real little nugget and a gem in there. So guys, what's next for you, or what's current at the moment? What are you currently working on, or what's coming up for you in the next months to the end of this year?
Yeah, well, we just released our full-length album, Between Barren and Beautiful, and that was just kind of a collection of a lot of singles that we've dropped last year and this year, and then 2 new ones. So we're just super excited to finish up this project and have it out there. This is the first full-length project that we've done with Marcus producing all of it, and we worked with just some really, really great people. We have a lot of featured vocalists, and it was just such a wonderful project to write and to it's just basically our life story over the past couple years, and I'm just so excited to have it out there in the world.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that is awesome. So where can people go to find out more about you guys?
I think that we are most active on Instagram. You can find us at Marcus and Jalyn. We also have Facebook page. Our website is marcusandjalyn.com. But again, to get the most personal connection with us, Instagram is usually usually what we use.
Yeah, that's really awesome, guys. So it's all that we have time for you today, friends.
Yeah.
Marcus and Jalyn, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your story and your journey with us. I hope Marcus and Jalyn's story has really encouraged you and inspired you to follow your path and shine your light for God as far and as wide as you possibly can. Remember, it was Jesus who said in Matthew 5, nobody hides a light under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand so it gives light to the whole room. So for now, it's goodbye from myself and Marcus and Jalyn.
Thank you so much for having us,
Joel. Yeah.
And God bless you, and see you soon on the next Illuminate podcast. You've been listening to the Illuminate Podcast. If you have a story to share about how you've been learning to shine your light for God, then I'd love to hear from you. Go to joelcause.com/podcast to find out more and get in touch.